welcome, Yorg. Good morning. You used to be a pro snowboarder, and now you're a chaplain for athletes. Is that right?
That's correct, that's right.
And as a snowboarder, you might have also had the chance to climb up the mountains to go up high. Did that maybe happen to you too? That you were once deep down in the valley emotionally speaking?
That naturally happens in an athlete's career, although I have to say, I've been pretty lucky with injuries. But every athlete experiences low points in their career, and I've been through that too.
How did the passion for snowboarding start, and how did you continue as a professional?
Yeah, for me, it was actually a pretty unique story. I was already 22 years old when I started racing. And normally, at that age, you don't start a sports career. But it was one day after a church service when the pastor challenged me and said, York, what burns in your heart? What dream burns in your heart? And I said I'd love to do competitive sports. I never had the chance to have my parents support me in that. But I would really, truly love to do something like that. And then the doors started opening one by one so that I could train with a professional team and participate in my first races there, got sponsors, and eventually got the opportunity to travel the world on the ISF World Tour, getting to know this fascinating side of competitive sports.
Is it possible that as a Christian, when you become a professional athlete, it's not necessarily understandable for the family?
For the family, my family wasn't Christian at all before. That only happened later. And I actually come from a family where a great uncle of mine was a world champion in skiing, so we've always had a thing for top-level sports.
So, was it natural for you to become a top athlete, or was it also because God called you and you felt it that way?
Yeah, so it's definitely been an incredible privilege for me to be able to take this path, and you really learn a whole lot on the journey of a top athlete. And from that perspective, I really believe it was a calling.
Your career is now a completely different career, yet it's still integrated into sports. You're a companion today, or as they say, a chaplain for athletes.
That's right, exactly. Indeed, after my sports career, I studied at Fuller Theological Seminary in Los Angeles and was first asked in 2003 to serve as a chaplain at a ski world championship.
You're a counselor for over 100 athletes in various championships, but today you're also, in fact, a counselor for coaches.
It includes not only the top athletes, but also the coaches and their dedicated environment. Everyone experiences ups and downs, and life goes on, even besides the Olympic Games. And from that perspective, there are indeed coaches, some officials, and especially the top athletes and the upcoming talents that we get to serve.
So we heard this week that athletes, when the spotlight goes out, when the stadium is empty, they kind of go through a sort of depression.
Yeah, that happens more frequently than you'd think because, in fact, an athlete's whole sense of self is indeed very much built on their performance. And you receive so much, partly love from the viewers, and because you love these people by accompanying them during these times when they go through valleys, what do you pass on to them?
When the career is over, all this attention and being in the spotlight suddenly stops. And because you love these people by accompanying them in these times when they go through the valleys, what do you pass on to them?
I'm passing on to them what I was able to receive myself. When I was 22 years old, our family essentially completely fell apart. And I didn't believe in God at all and never went to church. And my dad was an alcoholic facing severe depression. Parents had already gotten divorced. And then I got invited to a church service. The pastor was a former surfer and invited the young people to come forward so he could pray for them. And I thought to myself, I'm just going to actually forget about these weird people who had their hands up and were shouting hallelujah. I closed my eyes and said, Jesus, if you really exist, here's my life. And suddenly, love overwhelmed me. I stood there 1 hour, 2 hours with my eyes closed. I noticed nothing around me. In that moment, I knew, with this love, anything is possible.
So these are the important and valuable essentials, the pieces of advice you pass on to all those athletes you mentor.
The essential thing is this unconditional love you experience, which defines you as a person, regardless of your performance.
Jorg, your life wasn't exactly surrounded by a faith environment. You told us before that you had a lot of drama at home. How come you can share so much hope and light in the world today, so much hope and positivity?
Just like I briefly mentioned, it's how I opened my heart to God and got to experience His indescribable love. I then also started reading the Bible, and one day I had the feeling I should call my dad. And to make a long story short, during the call, my dad collapsed. So I called the emergency doctor. They said he was going to die due to the condition in his body. I was allowed to pray for him, and after 5 days, he was responsive. He also opened his heart and his soul to God. My mom did too, and she started reading the Bible and read about divine mercy, took my dad in and cared for him. And when I called my dad, he said he wasn't depressed anymore and didn't need alcohol anymore. After 13 years of divorce, my parents got married again. I was best man for my dad at the wedding with my mom. And so I knew God first restored my heart, and from that love and that relationship, from this forgiveness, He restored the relationships in my family.
From your sports career to today as a coach, in your journey, at the present time, you're actually a counselor and you support athletes who become champions, national champions, but also participate in the Olympics. What are the good pieces of advice or the good advice that you give to these athletes, professional athletes, perhaps?
First and foremost, the athlete wants to deliver their best performance on the big day. And in the Bible, we read that if we give ourselves to God and cast our worries on Him, He takes care of us. And we do it in a very practical way. I sincerely invite the athletes to write openly and honestly from the heart about their deepest worries. And the athletes absolutely love it. They make small, crumpled balls out of the paper, and then we throw them into a large pot where we burn them afterward, watching the flames consume the paper.
Symbolically, it just lit up, right?
Exactly. They get burned. Then it's just personal between them and God. That's really what they entrust to Him. There's also discretion, and in this case, a way to get rid of maybe some of the pressure that's weighing on your shoulders. Maybe some athletes can also misuse it and just use faith for their success in their respective fields. But you can quickly see if it's really, indeed, a personal relationship with God, and if this relationship is truly strengthened through consistent prayer, or if it's being misused in any way.
What does the prayer generally look like when the athletes come to you and ask for a prayer?
On one hand, it can simply be about really finding peace, experiencing a sense of calm, especially during this preparation, where you pray for them and they can let go of their worries. That's probably the most important prayer for the athlete, that they go into the competition without worries. And we simply call it a performance-free zone or a zone free of performance pressure for the athletes. And I don't know if we have any athletes, Olympians, or coaches who are currently listening to this radio station, but if you're interested in participating in these sessions, we hold online Beyond Gold chaplaincy meetings every day at 8 p.m. And there, with live worship and just really a zone free from any performance, you can definitely check it out either on Instagram or on the website. It would be called Beyond Gold Chaplaincy.
We'd love to receive if you could send it to us on WhatsApp so we can broadcast it and share it on our website. We'd really appreciate it. One last question. Do you perhaps maybe have a word you'd like to share this morning? Something that's a little bit on your heart?
Yeah, everyone is totally and warmly invited, from all athletes to coaches from the Olympic Village, to join the online meetings. And I think you guys have Nicola Ollie Slagers from Australia this afternoon. She'll be part of it too. And so we will be offering this chaplaincy live in the Olympic Village and online in various forms.
Thanks, Jörg Walcher, for being here today.